minutes to talk about whatever you want that's not on the agenda. And then a little buzzer rings, and don't be frightened or annoyed, but that's what happens at 2 minutes, and I start to say, thank you very much, because we're not allowed to have one of those hooks like they had in the old days that yanked you off stage, so that 2 minutes is the time limit. All right, first up, Suzanne Squire. Please pass out these fake bills and read aloud 3 words.
A raise. That's 2 words.
All right, here you go.
Here's your raise.
There you go. Federal Reserve note. A note is a debt to be repaid. When you spend federal dollars, you promise we the people pay back national debt now. 17 trillion. Please stop spending. Thanks. Dustin's Acts, followed by Peter Tim.
Hello. Dear Honorable Mayor, City Commissioner, and Mr. Tim. I want to say what a pleasure it is for you to hear from me, what a great honor it is for you to hear me speak tonight. First, I want to express my disappointment that we're having a planning and zoning board meeting tomorrow night, which is the first night of Rosh Hashanah. I'm appreciative that less than 2% of the population of the country, and I'm not particularly observant, but I think our community is large enough in Palm Beach County that it might merit in the future the cancellation of city meetings on the high holidays, out of respect for the members of the board, city staff, and probably most importantly, people who are applying and going in front of us. We don't know how many folks are going to be excluded from speaking tomorrow night. Now, this is especially troubling, as I had already booked previous travel plans for next month's meeting to go to the University of Michigan homecoming game, to see us whoop Illinois, and to meet my brand new nephew and niece that is scheduled to arrive. In Yiddish, I would say that it's a shanda, to have a city meeting on the high holidays when we as Lake Worthians embrace our tolerance and inclusiveness every day. Which leads me to my next point. I want to bring the Honorable Mayor and City Commissioner's attention to an issue I think is wreaking havoc in our streets. It's causing shrieking noises in the middle of the night, and it's in the back of all our minds, but it's been savagely neglected by this administration. And I'm talking about cats. We have too many stray cats and people who let their cats wander outside, and that really grinds my gears. It's bad for tourism. Consider superstitious old women from Europe who might see a stray black cat crossing their path as if they're voting or evil or bad luck. It's also bad for sleep. Part of my apartment is up against an alley. I have better things to do than listen to my neighbor call out, "Here, kitty, kitty," in the middle of the darn night. It's also bad for health. Cat scratch fever is a real disease with real consequences. You can look it up on Wikipedia. It's also bad for conversation. I really couldn't care less about your cat stories, about how you think your cat talks to you, or how crazy Jingles get when he takes a hit of cat milk. So, what are the solutions for the mayor and the commission here? Well, the Everglades supports a small season of hunting non-native snakes. I support a small-scale hunt within city limits with prizes. Thank you.
Mr. Sex. Peter Tim, followed by Loretta Sharp.
Peter Tim, this is a hard act to follow, but I'll do my best. Peter Tim, Bow Street, and yes, last meeting you, I think, didn't understand. I know the hotel does not belong to us. The Gulf Stream is in private hands. However, it is in Fort Point. It is handled by the bank.
It's not in Fort Lauderdale yet.
Okay, if you say so, because the people that own it are broke. They lost their other 2 hotels, and I'm surprised that one isn't on the list of losing. But it has been closed for a long time, and I don't expect it to open really quick either. So I would like to suggest that you people who want to build a new hotel, do you realize that when I was on my cruises during the off-season when things were downhill, that they had to have a 47% occupancy rate on the ship in order to break even. And I stepped off the high, and they said, well, it was lower than that, but we can't pass along all the expenses that we have, so we're taking back some of those, and we're adding on to the number of people we have to service in order to make a profit. I don't think the best day in our life we could fill any hotel with 47%, never mind on a daily agenda. So I really don't think we are ever going to get any hotel person to come in here and invest millions of dollars unless they expect the CRA to give them millions of dollars to build a hotel here in Lake Worth in the foreseeable future. And I certainly hope that I will be around to see it go up, but I really don't think so. And I was just wondering if that is maybe a guise to other things.
Thank you. But Ms. Sharp, followed by Lynn Anderson.
Loretta Sharp, 1311 South Conway. Well, that's not a hard act to follow. I had a little disagreement with Commissioner McVoy at the last meeting, just a little one, nothing physical. He said, well, I don't think that you can build streets in front of F Street and property values will go up. And I said, you're right. You know what makes property values go up in Lake Worth? You do. This commission does. This commission has turned this city around, and I've had 2 weeks to talk to people. So I know that people are very proud of you. I know that people think you're making the tough decisions. I know that people think that you're making us friendly with the county and with the neighboring cities. I know because I've asked. For 2 weeks I've asked. Why are you interested in buying in Lake Worth if you're not an investor? And they said, we think the city's turning around. What makes you think the city's turning around? The commission. So, Commissioner McVoy, I apologize to you, but you're wrong. This commission is making the city of Lake Worth do better, much better than it has in a long, long time. I know everybody's coming out of a economic downfall, but Lake Worth is coming out really, really, really well. Thank you.
Thank you. Lynn Anderson, followed by Nadine Burns. Did you want me to read it? Oh, you're going to come up. Okay.
Lynn Anderson, Lake Osborne Drive. There was something that came up by a resident at our last meeting and responded to by Commissioner Amoroso. I'd like to put the record straight regarding Annabeth Karson and the work she did on the 2010 census. She was part of the Complete Count Committee that was responsible to get the word out to the different organizations and residents regarding the upcoming census count. Many obstacles were put in her path, even from this dais. She gathered the information, and it was turned into the city, not just once, but twice. A bill was not necessary to submit by this contract arrangement. Rachel Smithson had put together a PowerPoint on the entire program, everything the committee had done from beginning to end. During this, Rachel left the city, and eventually so did the former city manager. So to say that you never got the information that you paid for is false. They were paid for a set price in the contract. Their work was not to produce 210 census results or figures. That you had gotten from the U.S. Census Bureau. Their work primarily was promoting the upcoming census, encouraging residents to fill out the forms for the government so that we could get any money from the feds that we were possibly entitled to. A flyer was produced, and I even circulated the flyer at one point. So I simply bring this up as some people in the city really want to reinvent the facts at a cost of maligning someone's character and reputation. There was no bill, it wasn't necessary. Information was submitted twice. The contract price was paid. And also I want to thank Commissioner McVoy for doing an excellent job. Thank you.
Thank you. Nadine Burns, followed by Marshall Pass.
Good evening, Mayor and Commission, Nadine Burns, and the Chamber of Commerce tonight. I want to thank Dustin for coming up and speaking at the mic. It made for us old timers reminisce about Martin, our mailman, and the wonderful public comment that we would get from Martin. So thank you for taking us there. I want to talk about the Tropical Triathlon. This is the 16th year. This is by far, I think, the best triathlon in Palm Beach County. And I know because I volunteer at Loggerhead and others. Nobody has what we have. And there's a sense of real excitement this year. with being able to showcase all of the efforts done by the city. I want to let you all know that Sheriff Rick Bradshaw is our honorary chair this year. He came out supporting a gift for the city's centennial, which was really terrific. We're expecting 500 to be competing. They bring their families, they bring their friends, and we hope they bring more interest in the city of Lake Worth and participants. Our Lakewood High School ROTC has always come out for this event. I want to acknowledge them tonight. They'll come out and run the bicycle course. That's 125 young people with their instructors here, making the streets safe, looking at all the ways that they can, support us back. I love those guys. It's really great. This is the second year. There's a lot of effort. Lake Worth High students are competing as well as their faculty. This is something that the chamber has encouraged, and actually, they don't pay to compete. They pay for their little insurance thing because we all have to do that, but it costs them $12 to participate in a $100 event. It's really very nice. They'll have a few teams this year. They'll be asking other students in the future and other schools to compete. This is their home and their backyard, and they really should own this event. That's my strong conviction. This should be their event. I want to give kudos to the staff, Terry, Neil, Juan, Ruiz, Chris from Public Works. All of them have worked with us tremendously. Terrific. Kudos to them all.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Marshall, followed by Yolanda Vasquez.
Good evening, members of the commission, Marshall Pascal with 5 Ocean Breeze. I don't get up here to speak too often, so first off, I'd like to just mention to you a happy and joyous Michelle Bob, which is a happy new year to all of my fellow Jews and tribesmen out there. I'm unofficially third Jew like worth after Dustin Zacks and Rachel Waterman, as of the last election. Anyway, as many of you know, and many people out there know, I'm involved with Facebook, and I'm involved with a number of volunteer activities, as many of the people in this room are. We always seem to bump into each other at different events. And recently, while a lot of notation has been made of the area, specifically around Royal Poinciana neighborhood, and with the NET, with what they're doing with the CRA now, the fires that occurred a couple nights ago are very disturbing in many ways. And I think it's for the people out there who don't go to Royal Poinciana neighborhood and aren't aware, because all of you are, and many of you are as well. Irregardless of where these people come from, what language and what culture, they deserve a safe neighborhood. This whole city, of course, does. There's many in there that are afraid to come to you, or come to the sheriff's office, or anyone else for that matter. It's a very closed group. I ask as a member, I'm on the board of Bryant Park where I live. While my neighborhood has some issues, we all do, it's nowhere near what these people deal with when they have kids walking by and checking out burned out homes, or watching what's going on inside some of these homes where prophylactics, or whatever we want to say nicely, are left behind, where people can walk into these homes freely, as I did today. Walk into some of these homes and see the remnants that are sitting there. And it's not the first time it's been mentioned. Zoning knows about it, code knows about it. Something must be done to not just seal up these places, do something with them. I would suggest if you can find a place on between C and D, between 3rd and 4th, somewhere in the center of that neighborhood, give them a home that they can use.
Thank you.
Neighbors helping neighbors, come clean it up, make
Thank
that
you.
their central meeting area. Thank you.
Thank you. Yolanda Vasquez? Except for this one? Followed by Miss Lindsay.
Hello,
Hello there.
I'm the baby. Yolanda Vasquez, 5 East South Street. Just gonna touch very shortly on what Mr. Pass had said. I live in District 1 in Royal Poinciana, and I'm on a couple of boards. And I just wanted to make sure that you guys are aware, which I'm sure you are, that a lack of, I'm sure the other neighborhood associations and other neighborhoods have the same challenges, but for if a real lack out there for safety, there's not enough lighting. There's a lot of, what's hanging around, and we've had a couple hit and runs, vehicles destroyed, families only transportation destroyed, including myself, and houses invaded, and robberies, drug dealing, and a lot of this has to do with sufficient lighting. If I know you guys have a plan, maybe I've seen it. If, just keep us in mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lindsay?
Mary Lindsay, 327 Columbia Drive. Good evening, Commissioners. There is so much that's great about this city, and I love to hear people get enthusiastic about it and talk about how we need to promote what's great about the city. Well, next Sunday is the day, and that's the time. The Tropical Triathlon this year is going to highlight portions of this city that have never been highlighted before, especially through the downtown, which is great. Nadine told you a little bit about it, but what she didn't get a chance to get to is we still, believe it or not, have fabulous volunteer opportunities. Volunteers to the Tropical Triathlon get the best seats in the house. They see up close and personal exactly what the runners see when they're, and the bikers and the swimmers, when they're going through our city. This is a great opportunity for everybody to put their feet where their mouth is when they talk about let's promote what's great about the city of Lake Worth. So, I'm not a bit hard to find. I'm helping Nadine keep track of all the assignments. Mr. Zerdy, Commissioner Zerdy is going to be looking after all of the volunteers that are going to be doing the run course, and he needs help. So this is an opportunity to spend some time and have your commissioner's ear. And this is all through the Bryant Park neighborhood. So Bryant Park people especially are invited to come and show off your neighborhood. But frankly, what we're doing is showing off a great city. So please, we need probably about another 30 volunteers. And I need to know who they are right away so that we can have your custom-made t-shirts all set. All right, so get the best seat in the house, volunteer.
Thank you. Ms. Lindsay, we're going to strap a camera to Commissioner McVoy's head. He's going to be participating in that tropical trip. You didn't know, he's our representative for that event this week. And he's going to be participating firsthand. We volunteer. That's what happens when you come late. We volunteer you. Mr. Sachs, I agree with you 100 million trillion %. Did you mention that to them when the schedule of the meeting happened? No? Okay. We need to be much more conscientious, and just about looking at the schedule to make sure that we don't ever do that again. I agree with you 100%. I'll let you guys go. Commissioner Zerdy?
Sorry, refreshing. Mr. Jim, I was going to ask you where you get your crystal ball from, because I don't know how we can predict what's going to happen with a piece of private property like that. And we all have high hopes for it, but keep an eye on it. But we can support, and we will support, a good hotel in the city. There's so many other hotels happening all around us, all over the place. We can definitely handle one, and I'm sure even more than that. We just got to be more welcoming and put our good foot forward. Thank you, Loretta. Also, I appreciate the comments for us up here. I think there's a lot of work to be done, but the first thing we're trying to do is to take away the things that people don't like to see here in the city. And I think that was a priority for a lot of folks. And we already talked about the triathlon plenty. I do need plenty of help with that as well. So, and I agree with the lighting. I know in our master plan, we're talking about street lights that may be in the corners and the intersections, but I do see if we already have some, maybe in the middle of the blocks too can help, because it's a long way from one part to the other. And we do ask neighbors to turn on their street lights on your porches and all too. That helps a lot, just to deter folks and give them a way to light the sidewalks up and see any folks that are coming down there. I know our sheriff's department loves to see as many lights on in the neighborhood as possible. Set up, so at least you're on a photo cell or something that would help a lot. Thanks, ma'am.
Commissioner Morissette?
And the only thing I wanted to mention is as we move forward with a master plan, even if it goes to the vote and the voters don't vote for it, we need to come back and look at some possible funding for lights in certain areas, because we are missing lights. I'm hoping that as we move forward with a master plan, that we can address the lighting, the sidewalks, the things that are security. I know that the sheriff's department has pumped up the patrols and everything in that area, so just keep us abreast. You live in those neighborhoods, we need to know exactly what's going on. The sheriff needs to know, and again, maybe through the neighborhood association, you can do a porch light campaign or something.
I'm the brightest house in the block.
It might cost a little bit more, but it's the cost of safety, so if we can get that through the neighborhood association.
Commissioner McBoy?
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Sark's concern about the scheduling, and I'm glad, Mayor, that you mentioned that. Let's just keep an eye on that sort of thing. I of course agree with Ms. Sharp.
Thank you.
However, I actually agree a little bit more with John Rinaldi that I just am not at all convinced that fixing the roads is going to raise values in certain areas. It's a nice idea, but I just don't, I'd like to see some data, and if somebody shows me some data, then I'll be a lot more convinced. And I think when we're thinking about spending and borrowing the sizes that we're talking about, and when there are communities that, you know, really are in bad shape because they have over-borrowed, we're in good shape, we have not borrowed a lot. So let's go into it with a very strong factual basis. Same thing with the hotel district. I can't agree more with Mr. Tim. I think if we had such an enormous need for a hotel district here, the hotel industry would be knocking down our doors. They're the professionals. They're the ones that know and do the market analysis. It's nice to say that we have events like the street painting festival, that we like to have those people, but you can't run a hotel on 4 events a year, or even 10 events a year. So let's stick to having some actual written, thoughtful analyses of the numbers and work it that way. I am very concerned. I too hear from the neighborhood, and thank you, Yolanda, for coming and speaking. It's very helpful to get that. I do hope, I assume that PBSO is I'm sure they're aware of the area also and watching and putting extra energy into it. And obviously, if we do need more lighting, I would put in a slight request that there certainly are interests in making that lighting work as efficiently as possible downward toward the community and not upward toward the sky. Dark skies does not mean unsafe neighborhoods. As we move forward with lighting, let's keep that in mind. And porch lighting sounds like a good idea. Home Depot has a lot of the little photocell things that turn them on and off automatically. It seems to work pretty well. Not a plug for Home Depot, but I just noticed they're kind of cool. They work well.
All right. Vice Mayor?
Thank you. I can't say much more about the lighting that's already been said. However, I do believe, didn't a few years ago, didn't we have a lighting study? Didn't utilities do a lighting study where we needed lighting? Do we have that somewhere on the shelf collecting dust?
Yes.
Well, no,
I've never seen one of these
let's see if
studies.
let's see if we can figure out, you know, if that's, I think we did a study with Becky Matty was here, because we were talking about maybe going to LED lights, and they did a, you know, they counted all the poles and all this other stuff. It might be nice to kind of overlay that into the master plan, you know, to complement the master plan. As far as that's concerned. You know, this issue with burned out houses and prostitution and vagrancy, you know, this is a long time in the making. And we're not gonna fix it overnight, but we are gonna fix it. Okay, we are gonna fix it because this commission is committed to doing the things that we should have been doing 50 years ago, that we're left undone. Okay, and I disagree with you, Commissioner McBoyd. You know, you gotta have an infrastructure in order for folks to want to invest. They're not gonna come in and invest and then turn around and be called upon to invest more to put the infrastructure in. That's not, you know, a business model that works well for a lot of people, okay? I think you'll agree, even in the last 30 years, if you look at the coastal communities from North Palm Beach to Boca, almost every single one of these cities has invested heavily in their infrastructure during the last 30 years. And this city has done nothing except stand still in time. And what's happened is the economy in this county has passed us by, The tourism industry has passed us by. A lot of things have passed us by. Okay, so we've got some catching up to do. And one of those things we have to do is work on the fundamentals. Okay, and that means we need to seriously have a conversation about a basic infrastructure that anybody would expect, that, you know, without even having to ask for it when they come into a community. And right now, we can't deliver that. Okay, and when we can't deliver that, you're absolutely right. No hotel company in the world is gonna come in here and wanna build a hotel. You're absolutely correct. Because we don't have the basic infrastructure to support that type of investment. So, that's all I'm gonna say about that.
Commissioner McLean?
I just wanted to follow up with, Commissioner Maxwell kindly reminded me of one thing on the lighting. Something that I learned at last year's Florida League of Cities from a vendor is that with the LED lighting and with the communications technology that's available now, extremely cheap, and possibly somebody here from PBSL may be aware of it, but I'd never heard of it, which was a cool idea, that you can dim LED lights very easily. So you can set your lights, your street lights, at a certain level, let's say at 70%. Design them so that you have more brightness than you normally need. Run them at your typical level, at a normal brightness that you would expect. And then if you have a crime issue in an area, kind of like we do with the helicopter coming around, and partly it serves as a deterrent, hey, we're paying attention, you can do the same thing with your streetlights. You can crank up the brightness on an area and do it immediately, you know, when something, and that might be worth thinking about as we move to fancier streetlights. It's I don't know if there are any reports, you know, whether people have looked at how well it works in practice, but it's a cool idea that it's a way that you can make people, hey, we're paying attention, very quickly gives them. So.
And Ms. Vasquez too, I wanted to just add something. I don't know if you were here at the very beginning of the meeting, I think you might have just been coming in, but we asked about the ordinances and where they stood in regards to, they've been passed and they've been funded, but they haven't actually gone into effect. I know we've had, even last week, I think Mr. Tim had some questions about that too. You got all these new ordinances, why aren't you doing them? Because they haven't, we're just waiting for them legally to take effect, so once they do, we'll be able to do that. Because I think a lot of the issues too are people that are not supposed to be in those properties that are abandoned or whatever, doing whatever, and then, you know, I don't know what that certain circumstance was about, nor do I pretend to, but that is, you know, one of the reasons why we had to have more teeth in this, to be able to board up those properties to make sure that they're safe and secure to protect the neighborhoods. So, you know, we've finally got the tools now, let's use them, we can't wait to use them, I'm sure everybody's happy about doing that. But I just wanted you to know, and I'm very, very excited about being able to clean things up, and you need lighting, yes, desperately.
Any lighting.
Any lighting, I know. Commissioner Marson?
Just real quick, yeah, that goes back to, you know, any lighting. We can brighten the streetlights we have, but we're talking about infrastructure that doesn't exist.
I know.
And so this is lighting that doesn't exist, that can't be lit a little lighter, so, you know.